Hi, welcome to another video with me. My name is Janet, and today we're going to talk about what we can do when we're feeling sad. So in this video, I will share a little bit about the different things that I do when I'm sad, and also I will share a little bit more about the different journaling styles that I have as well, and also a book recommendation to help you through a very sad period of your life. Yeah. So basically, right, I'm a person who gets sad quite easily and quite frequently. And if you are also like me, who is probably a little bit more sensitive, and little things can make you sad and upset, and you just have a lot of feelings and emotions, and sometimes it's really difficult to regulate these emotions, and then you might feel like there's nothing that you can do about your sadness. But what I realized over the years is that you cannot really change your sensitivity, because that's what makes you you, right? But if you change your mentality about sadness, a lot of times, not only sadness but all your emotions are just basically a guide for you to know what you are actually feeling. As in, it's like a signal, right, telling you something that you may be, not aware about. And so sadness sometimes can be quite, it makes you feel like hopeless, or like there's nothing much you can do about it, and that, it feels like things is always the same way, and you're just in this sadness loop until one day you just get out of it. And maybe today is the day where you realize that, I don't want to be this like person that is always sad, or like easily sad, or always very gloomy and moody, right? So number one, what I want to share with you is that about 6 years ago, I started practicing this thing called the morning pages, and it actually comes from a book which is called The Artist's Way. Okay, and this book is like a 12-week course, and it tells you a lot of different things that you can do in terms of like exploring your creativity. And so you might be thinking, what has creativity got to do with journaling and sadness? How do you link all these things together? What I realized, right, over the years is that when you stop creating things, like making anything, you can actually slowly become quite depressed. And what I'm saying is that a lot of times, what can help you get out of this sadness is actually creating something, anything. And this also ties back down to the fact that when we talk about creativity, a lot of times people will say that, oh, this person is so creative, I will never be like this person because I'm not a creative person. Stop. That was me. I always thought that I wasn't a creative person because, when I look at the people that I thought, looks like a creative person, I feel like a creative person must be able to draw, to be artistic, to be fashionable, to be, really like cool and expressive and everything, right? And so for many years, I always thought that I wasn't a creative person. Until this year, I realized that I am a creative person. and the thing is, many people has told me in person that I'm a creative person, but to me, it's whenever people say such things, it'll be like, oof, oof. I cannot hear it because in my own brain and in my own like standards and expectation, I'm not a creative person because of how I view people that are creative. And then I measure myself against that standard and I tell myself I'm not a creative person. And slowly, I realized that I have misunderstood the whole idea of creativity. Right? So the moment I accepted that I'm a creative person and I started creating things that I, used to always like to do, and then suddenly I don't feel those like persistent low moods because now I can make things, I can create things, I can paint, I can, make cute little beaded flowers like this and paint the little pots and all these kind of things. And I painted this. Ta-da! And yeah, anyway, there's many ways that you can be creative even if you are not doing any artistic things. By thinking of a plan, creating your presentation for work, all these things requires creativity. For example, even if the customer is angry and complaining to you about something, at that point of time you need to come up with a solution. That is all using your creative juice to come up with something. So whatever that you create is already part of creativity. And can you explore more in that sense? Obviously you can. There's so many things in this world that is for you to express your creativity, right? And so anyway, back to the topic. I digress. Yes, so this book is literally teaching you how to journal. That's one thing. And then on the other hand is also for you to plan artist dates where you can bring yourself out on dates to create something or just basically schedule a time in your weekly busy days and like schedule a specific time, like maybe 1 hour to do something, anything, to explore your creativity. That's one thing. So then that also creates something that you look forward to, like every week, just 1 hour to do something, right? So that's for the artist way. And how it helped me is that about 5-6 years ago, I started writing these morning pages, which is basically every day you need to write 3 pages of anything, whatever you want. The moment you wake up, you just write 3 pages. And you might be thinking, Janet, do you think I'm still free every morning to wake up and write 3 pages? Maybe not. And I did that out of desperation because I really needed something to sort of like have an outlet for me to express myself. Before following this practice of journaling, like these morning pages, I always liked writing ever since I was a kid, but I never really write consistently. I was just like, once in a while write. And for many of you who like to buy notebooks, you will know that you will buy this notebook and then you're very excited and then you write something and then you just forget about this notebook. And then suddenly one day you realize that, hey, I want to write something again, and then you buy another new notebook. And then you just have like a lot of notebooks that are like half written, or not even half, like maybe just a few pages written, right? So yeah, anyways. So ever since the day when I started reading this book, I realized that since this book has shown that it has proven that a lot of people's lives started changing because of writing these morning pages every single day, I followed and I write and I wrote and I wrote and wrote and wrote. And now after so many years, 6 years later, this is the number of books that I have journaled over since 2021. 2021, November 2021, I started writing all these books. So you can imagine how much my life has changed since then. And so why I say about the sadness thing is that when you are very sad, right, and if you don't have these journals, right, you don't really have a comparison of how life was before this moment that you are sad. And as humans, right, we always forget a lot of things, and we put a lot of focus on the bad things that happen to us. And sometimes because maybe there are just really the frequency of bad things happening can be quite high, and then after a while, right, it seems like there's no happy things at all in your life. And so when it comes to these morning pages, right, there will be days where you write about sad stuff. There will be days that you will be writing about happy and exciting things. And when you flip through these pages, right, that has happened over the years, it kind of reminds you how far you have come, and that even though how difficult it might be, right, those sad times in the past, it really passed. You overcame it, and now you're here at this moment. And when you look at the sad thing that is happening, right, I think it gives you some kind of relief that you will be able to get through this sad period as well. And yeah, so, and it also helps you see like how much you have progressed in that sense. And for myself, right, when I look through all these pages just now before I started filming this, I realized that I was such a critical and harsh person towards myself. Like in the early pages that I've written, right, in the first few years, there was always this emphasis on productivity and efficiency. It's that I always want to be productive and efficient. And now, after so many years, I'm actually looking at regulating my nervous system. And that is a totally different, very drastic change from before. And also one interesting thing that you can do is that I have always just written words, right? And I realized this year that I started doing something different, which is to create another journal on the site that includes photos. And at the first page of this journal, I had my own face and some like little cute quotes, right? I always end up in cool places doing cool things. And another quote was, I was born to tell stories. And then there's 3 keywords of this year, which is creativity, autonomy, and expansion. So these are the 3 keywords that I focused on. And now it's only July, but I realized that my life is actually moving towards this direction. And then I also made like some cute little vision board in that sense, but it's a vision board journal thing. And I also have my face in here and all the things that I want. And then at the back, right, I wrote about all the evidence of the things that are actually happening according to what I want. So it's like to remind me of all these kind of things. And to be fair, to be honest, it is not a consistent thing, because like I said, I will forget about it, right? But then when I remember and I flip through it and I see what I wrote in the past, then I get reminded again of all the good things that is happening in my life, right? And for example, there's this vision board of the person that I want to be, and then I wrote also evidence of how I am showing up for myself as the person that I want to be. And yeah, and then also some special days have very good memories, like maybe concert days. I get very excited, and so I have all these like concert days kind of thing. And then yeah, concert stuff, and maybe the books that I read, different things. And the funniest part of it all is I actually created this thing which looked like my autograph book when I was in secondary school. So I wrote like all the things that I like, my favorite colors, food, favorite countries to visit, favorite books, favorite manga, anime characters, favorite shops, brands, favorite music artists, movies, hobbies, everything. And also a little part where like my little dreams for this period of my life. And it's such a lovely thing. And so, like I say, I know it's very difficult when you're sad to think like, oh, I want to do something. It's really very difficult. But if you start to create all these little things for you as evidence, then during sad periods, right, you can look at all these things to remind you that this is just only a short little sad period. And this sad period will eventually pass, and just like the previous times that has happened, right? So yeah, I hope you enjoy this little video, and don't forget to like and subscribe and start to do all these morning pages. And yeah, if you like, you can also create all these cute little decoration for your books. Yep, bye. See you in the next video.